Hey Time Slicers, welcome to Slice Squad Spills. I'm your host, Nicki Wildflower. I went from a basement apartment to a multiple seven-figure empire. Now I'm here to share how you can do it too. Step into our world where efficiency is a lifestyle and we are on the cutting edge, revolutionizing the beauty industry and beyond and maximizing your income. This isn't just a podcast. It's a space for breakthroughs, a community of innovators. Fasten your seatbelt. Your journey to maximum efficiency and prosperity starts right here. Today, I'm so excited to be here with Jackie, who is the CCO, Chief Creative Officer of Slice Squad Consulting. And the reason why Jackie's here today on this episode is because I don't think you even understand the whirlwind of what the past year has even looked like for us. It has been absolutely wild. And where it started to where it is now is just so, even just like the past couple of years. So we're going to dive into what that looks like. And I think what really prompted this episode is that a lot of times people see that I'm really successful. I'm a hairstylist and they're like, I'm a hairstylist. I am a multiple seven-figure business owner. I'm a CEO, a mom. People are like, oh, Nicki, she has it all together. She must be like this person who's always had it all together like that. And people will often say to Jackie, who works on my team and does a lot of consulting calls herself, they'll be like, I'm not like Nicki. Like I'm not regimented like Nicki or disciplined like Nicki. I just don't necessarily have it in me like she does. I've always made bad decisions. And Jackie's like, hello, Nicki?
I'm like, not for nothing. But as her sister, I can tell you right now that you're just like Nicki.
Yeah. Girl is a mess.
Last person that anyone, like, just to be transparent, not to be tea, Nicki, but probably last person in our family that people would have assumed this sort of success from, because you were always kind of that black sheep, middle child syndrome, I always used to say. She made some questionable decisions and has always been a little messy, a little chaotic. And I always saw it for you. Hey, I've always been on your team here. But it goes to show that success can look any sort of way. All it's about is like what you do with what you have. So, yeah, Nicki, our black sheep now, just rocking it.
Part of that motivated me. I love when people tell me like, oh, it's not going to be you. Because everybody has this imposter syndrome thing where they're like, am I good enough? Am I who I say I am? I'm like, yeah, I do feel like that. But at the same time, I'm like, why the hell not me?
Right.
Why not me? So, but this is how much no one thought I was going to be successful. My family says it all the time. Like, thank you. Really appreciate that. But like my grandma was standing looking outside in my beautiful backyard, which I'm going to give you a glimpse of real quick because it is gorgy.
Oh my God.
And yeah. And she's looking out into my backyard and she's like, she has an Italian accent. She goes, who would have thought of all people you was going to do this?
Or like, I can't believe.
And I was like, I can't believe it. And I just look at my Nona because I'm like, Nona, you're not going to be making snide remarks like that to me. I'm not going to take your shit. So I'm just like, me, motherfucker. I thought so.
That's like my favorite thing that she does in Nicki's kitchen at this house. There's like this big bay window and it overlooks the water. And every time I live in Colorado now, but I go back to New York like way more often than anyone would ever think anyone would travel back to their hometown. But obviously we're attached at the hip in a way. So grandma will stand in the window with like her hands on her hips or just like her arms crossed, like taking it all in. This is in disbelief that you've done this for yourself. It's just her stance at every family party. It's hilarious.
And then you have our mom. Yeah, Nicole and Jackie, they're doing really good for themselves. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. And let's talk about the fact that when you even first invited me to to work alongside you with Slice Squad. Mom was shook. She was so nervous. She's like, are you sure about this? Like, did not, our parents weren't risk takers at all. They weren't action takers at all when it came to like moving through fear. They were literally safe, like safe comfort zone people only. And so it's interesting that we're all in business, like all of their kids, we did like fine growing up. I think we were just kind of getting by, yeah, we were like lower middle class for our area.
Yeah.
And our parents made safe decisions. And so like our mom was so nervous when Nicki started this and she hired me. And then like the more she'd be like, oh, so Nicki hired another person. Like now our team's at 26 people and
She
each
still
person
does
we
it.
hire, she's nervous about. Just nervous about the fact that like it grew like this, and it doesn't make sense to her. And it didn't make sense to me either, honestly, when it first started happening, because it's so outside of how we grew up.
And I want to take a step back from that and even say that a lot of times, so like we get these limiting beliefs that are passed down generationally from our family that we have to break through. You know what I'm saying? So like our dad's stance on money and success was money doesn't grow on trees. Remember the year he made mom a money tree for Christmas?
Yes.
Because
she thought that money grew on trees.
Yeah. And like, he was constantly, we had an incredible dad growing up, which we'll get into in another episode when we feel like crying. I'm not going to cry. I'm just not like that.
No.
But those were his stances. Those were his stances on finances and money. It was just constantly just like poverty. I remember there were multiple times my dad did all right. Like he worked at the same company for 44 years. And when I say all right, I mean, really not enough to raise a family of 5 off of where we live. They were like scraping. They were frugal in a lot of areas, which allowed them to maintain and like still give us, like they took us on little trips and stuff like that. So we had a great childhood. They did the best they could with what they had. My dad was constantly like, he would get offered other jobs all the time. And I remember him being like, oh, no, but you don't do that. You don't just hop around like that. And I'm like, our generation be hopping.
Yeah. Or he like credit card debt was or any sort of debt at all was an absolute, can I curse?
Yeah.
A fuck no for him. Like he never once had any credit card debt. He paid off his credit card every month. Like it was, just truly within like these really strong boundaries, like, or constructs, I'll call them now, not even boundaries. It was like, again, no risk taking. And so there was no room for growth ever. He literally stayed at the same job forever.
44 years.
Yeah.
Until he got sick. That's literally, that was it.
Yeah.
But regardless, like those are the beliefs that are passed down to us from our parents. And so as adults, it is our responsibility, if we want to break outside of what was possible for our parents, to unlearn what we were taught by them. And it's a weird thing to come to the realization when you think that your parents know everything when you're growing up, that maybe they didn't have it quite right. But what I want to do really is talk about how we landed here and how I ended up living on a beach. No, but because really, so let me start this off by saying I started, for those of you that don't know my story, I was living in Colorado, bad breakup, came out when I was 29 years old. I came out as gay. It was rough. Like, it was really rough. Nobody really took it well. Like, it's not that the people in my life were necessarily like anti that. It was more one of those things because I was so wild growing up and I was from relationship to relationship and I'd been married before, that people were like, here she goes again. Yeah. Oh, now she's gay. That's gay. That's cute. And I'm like, maybe that was the problem all along. Come on. But yeah, so it took a while for people to come around to it, and it was really rough. I felt like really rejected. And just, what do you call it? Not validated. And I moved home and back to New York from Colorado because our dad, I guess we are going to get into it a little bit. Our dad got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Well, at the time, this was 2017, early 2017. We didn't know for sure that he had it. But we would find out for sure that he had it like just a couple of months after I moved home, or maybe the next year was the official diagnosis.
It was 2017, actually.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a couple months later when we found out for sure that he did, like, the official diagnosis. But for like a few years before that, when he was like in his late 50s, we just noticed a lot of interesting things happening with him. And it was hard for me, like, and then our parents separated before we knew he was sick, like right before. And it was just a mess. He had no one to really like care for him like in that way. So I just came home because I didn't want to miss the time. I knew like it was he was on the decline and I didn't want to miss any time with him. And I had just like gotten over a breakup and just came out and I was like, let me just go home. I had been super homesick for years. So I was like, now's my opportunity to just like start fresh. But I didn't have any money. And what money I did have, I actually just spent on the ride back to New York. Like,
Like every last dollar.
yeah, that was it. That's all I had. So I was working at a commission salon in Colorado. It was a cool salon. I was a master stylist. It was pretty bustling. I think I was making like $50,000 a year. So after taxes, it wasn't much. And I wasn't also really that good with money. So when I was driving home, I spent the last of really what I had. I think when I got home, I had maybe like $200 in my pocket, like to my name. That's like savings and everything. And I just went straight to my Nona's house because that's like the fallback. So we come from an Italian American family, and my grandparents, when they came here from Italy, first they lived in the Bronx, then they went to another place on Long Island and did like the standard thing where you get a 3-family house so that every generation that ever exists could live in that house.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just gonna go to grandma's, you know, that's where we go. Like my mom lives there too. She lives on the ground level. Everybody's going to Nona's. So I just went there and like I lived in her spare room and she cooked for me every day. And I was just like, okay, so I'm here now. I'm broke. And I had met my wife in Colorado. But it was like early on. I didn't know. We were early on. And so she was still there. I saved up enough. So I worked at a blow dry bar for like maybe a month and just like saved up enough money to get into an apartment, like a basement.
We called it like the cave. It was a basement apartment. It was on a main road.
Oh yeah, it wasn't good, but at the time it felt like a palace.
Honestly,
Like,
we were stoked on it. Like we called it the cave, but it was also like kind of exciting. I lived in a basement too. Mine had like less natural light, so yours was like luxurious.
I had a better basement than you had. So
for sure.
Also in New York, it is standard to rent somebody's basement.
Right.
Like
they don't have apartment complex. They do, but they're like, I mean, whatever. It's
Long Island. It's Long Island. You can't afford the apartment complexes here. So like you have to live in somebody's basement, which is also expensive. Like it's also expensive to live in somebody's basement on a main road. I mean, I think my rent was like $1,600 a month.
That's high.
Well, for me, I wasn't making potatoes. So what am I going to do with that? And so finally, like, my now wife came from Colorado too. She moved into the basement with me. She started working in the city, had her like finance job, but she didn't have a lot either. Like, but we were just like, all right, let's just like make changes. And I was like, I think I'm going to open a studio. And everyone's like, with no clients.
And no money.
And I'm like, well, I already have no money, so I might as well just go for it, you know? So let me just let me just put it all on my credit card and move forward. What better time than now? And my now wife, Allison, we're just going to say her name, was so supportive and was just like, you know what? Just go for it. Like, I got us, I think.
Like a little, I've got us a little bit, I think, for now.
Yeah. What are we going to do? So, I open up my new studio. Not one client, no clients. Everyone's like, are you wild? And I'm like, yeah, we know this already. Like, that's what you love about me. So I did it. I opened up the studio, with a friend at the time. We actually split, like we split a studio, a small one. And I got booked up really fast because I mean, if I'm nothing else, I'm a marketer.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm nothing else, I'm an action taker.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, shit, I just got myself into more debt. Because I almost had to file bankruptcy
like a
couple
years
years
before that.
Yeah. Things were going really well in Nicki's world. And great choices. Anyway, so I was like, I really got to pull it together now or I'm going to totally like screw myself, screw Allison. Like I didn't want to fail. I was like, I have to prove it to myself. Almost everybody like in my life has always projected onto me that I wasn't going to be successful. And nothing really drives me like spite.
That's healthy.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It works though. No, I know that it's not, but it just is what it is. You know what? Like, you tell me I can't do it. Tell me I can't do it. Go ahead. And so I did it. I filled up my book so fast. Like, I got out there. I was like, I'm going to do model calls. I'm going to get as much content as I can. I'm going to start conversations. I'm going to get people in my chair. Now, here's the other issue. No assistant, can't double book, very small space. So at this point, like, I've filled up my books. I'm getting a ton of content, really putting myself out there on social media. I was dedicated, and I'm not a regimented person. I did this all out of like straight up fear. Like, I was like, so I would just post like multiple times a day, make sure that I was like on the top of every hashtag list. I'm like, ooh, this hairstylist is ahead of me on the Long Island hairstylist hashtag. I gotta boost myself up. I gotta post more. I gotta post better quality. So that was kind of like driving me. And then my stuff just kind of like took off from there. I was able to really create a buzz around my business. And then enter my appointments are taking me like 48 hours because I love educating myself, but every technique I learned was like, so what we're going to do is we are going to do these tiny little weaves. We're going to do these tiny little baby lights. Um, I'm going to have my assistant here holding this big slice, this slice of foil. They're going to hold it for me and they're going to rinse it out. I'm going to take another client. This client's going to be here for 10 hours. And then I'm going to get this client started. And I'm like, that's not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was seeing my clients like 6 hours. They're like sweating. They're like, get me out of this chair. And it was giving me anxiety.
It
I'm
was
like, clearly,
small too. The room was so
it's tiny.
tiny. Yeah.
I'm like, this is not what the people want. And I'm like, in order to even make this like profitable, I'm going to have to charge them like $1,000. And at the time, I didn't really have the like calzones to do that.
No.
So I had to learn how to get faster, basically. So I was just like, okay, I got to streamline this. And I know that I could do it. So my brain started, because I hyperfixate. So like when I obsess with something, I obsess. And I just started, like, my family members would come in like, Jackie, and I'm going to try something on you. And I don't know if it's going to go well, but I'm going to, like, if I mess it up, I'll just fix it. It's not a big deal.
I've had
So
every color hair because of her.
because so I just started like playing around with different. I'm like, oh my god, it works. I'm like, it works, and it's literally half the time. What the hell is everybody else doing out there? I figured it out. I cracked the code. So, and at that point, you asked me if I wanted to be an educator. I'm like, hell no.
Nope.
I'm like, I just want to do hair. I'm focused on my business. I can't teach other people. I'm too scatterbrained. All the stories we tell ourselves. And so at this point, I go from being able to take maybe 2 clients a day, and I'm working like 4 or 5. I'm working like 5 days a week, actually. I think I was doing like 12-hour days at that point, taking like 2 clients, and they're each like, maybe I'm charging them each like 200, 250, something like that, for these like 5-hour appointments. And then I'm like, but now I could do 4 of those in the day.
I remember actually the moment of one of your main goals when you first opened your suite was like you wrote down like a manifestation of like, or like an affirmation of like, I'm going to be so booked that it's going to like hurt my own feelings how booked I am. And then when you got there, you're like, okay, my feelings are really hurt. Like, this is really bad. I can't even handle this anymore. She would like hire me for the day to just like wash the bowls. Not even hire me. She'd just be like, hey, I'll do your hair for free. I don't know. Like, just come in and help me because it's so chaotic. And you had to figure it out. And right, like your brain hyperfixated on this efficiency thing, and you just went for it. And the cool thing about Nicki is like when the hyperfixation is almost like a superpower of yours. Like when you get a thought in your head, you're ready to like take action to make it happen and get creative and make it happen. So you made it happen.
Made it happen for sure. So yeah, so at this point now I'm able to do them in like half the time. Right. So I'm able to do and that for me was like 2.5 to 3 hours, these big color transformations. So I was able to get that down to, so I can do now, if I work a 10-hour day, I'm like, I could do 4 of these. And now at this point, I'm doing like 250 a pop, 4 of them a day. That was a lot for me at the time. And I skyrocketed my income. Like within a year, I was doing 6 figures. 2 years, I was doing multiple 6 figures. I started sharing like what I was doing on social media just to be like, maybe I could help a few people. And then they were like, and some people were like, you lazy. And I'm like, okay.
And then like all of the other people who are like, I'm intrigued, broke out into the song from Grease, like, tell me more, tell me more.
And I was like, all right, I guess I'll just show them how to do it. And then eventually they're like, do you do any classes? And I'm like, I don't have time to do freaking classes. Are you kidding me? And then I just was like, oh, but if I make an online course, then I guess I could do that. So I made like two, like on my freaking iPhone, my little, like, they were, now that I look back on those
They're
videos,
dinky.
they were so crusty.
Yeah,
Like
they're dinky.
I, I put them into like my YouTube now for free because I'm like, but I've also changed so much since then that I should probably just take those down because it looks so different what I do now. But anyway, it was like, and I was like, okay, I'll sell them for like $34 each or something like that, like just how I do my slice and smudge, how I do this. And a lot of people were interested and did it, and to the point where they're like, oh, I want more of this. So then I did a subscription. It was like 20 something a month, and that got really popular. And it got to a point, but what happened was it grew, and I was literally, my subscription was pulling in multiple six figures a year, like on its own. So like that, and it was pretty passive. Like it was making like $25,000 a month, somewhere around there, just the subscription, because people really needed the stuff. And then I was like, okay, but no one's actually making the changes they need to make in their business. Like no one is really like taking this and scaling their business the way that they can. And I want more for them. Like I want more than them just being able to work faster. It's not enough. Like I don't think people understand what they're capable of. So I wanted to get more involved and do more of like an approach where I could actually coach people. Oh, and by the way, Jackie, tell them how you ended up working for Slice Squad, like the subscription.
Oh, okay. So, COVID hits. So fun fact, actually, Nicki moved back to New York in 2017 from Colorado, and I moved from New York to Colorado in 2020. So 2020, like, right, we've like never lived in the same place, like ever, for a long period of time. But somehow maintain this relationship. Like that's stronger than people who live next door to each other, but that's beyond the point. I moved to Denver with my husband in 2020, literally right during shutdown. Like we got here the day of shutdown. It was an accident. We had no idea that was going to happen. And I had a job lined up, but I am a massage therapist by trade and a yoga teacher by trade, and I couldn't work. And I was poor. Like we were poor. My husband was essential at the time. He was a diesel mechanic then. And so he was working, but like, and luckily we were able to defer things, all that COVID stuff that happened. I was able to defer some of my payments and stuff. But I'm like, shit, I can't make it. And even when I did get a job, even when I started my job a couple months into COVID, like it's expensive out here too. New York's expensive, and so is Denver. And I was struggling, and I also wanted more for myself just in general. I was starting to feel a little bit stagnant, and so I said, I think it was a little bit mostly for money. But I was like, hey, I know your subscription's doing real well. Like I do customer support, at my massage job. I was in a management role as well. And if you ever need any help, like, because she seemed overwhelmed anyway. I said, if you ever need any help, just let me know. And I just started doing the support emails. And that was like really how we kind of started working together at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then things, started to get really like stagnant. So I had this idea, let me create it into an app, right? And I was like, because everybody's on their phone. So let me make a Slice Squad app, without actually realizing that the App Store was going to take 15% of my revenue. So everybody is now signing up for this app, and my income goes down 15% immediately. And I'm like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. And my wife and I were starting to go through the adoption process. And I was like, and also I saw, like I said, people weren't making the changes that they needed to make. I'm like, I'm doing a huge disservice to this industry, and I'm bored. Like I don't feel like I'm making a difference. I really don't. And I don't do bored. That's
No,
dangerous for Nicki. And what ended up happening was I'm sitting there one day and I'm on Instagram and I see this, I see something that's like, it resonated with me, where it was like, are you looking to make these changes in your life? And I'm like, yeah.
Are you feeling stagnant in your
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So I get on a sales call. I know I'm going on a sales call, but I'm like, I don't know. This person's got a program I think that's maybe going to help me. And I'm like, maybe I could throw like 3 grand at this tops. Like, I know it's going to be an investment. And I'm like, I get to the end of the call. I know I'm being sold, but I'm like,
Yes, yes,
uh-huh. Never in a million years, I think he's going to throw out the number 10 grand. And I'm like, ooh. And I just sat there for a second, like frozen. And I was like, okay, $10,000. And he's like, yeah. I was like, do you have anything like, oh, like that's not this? Maybe like a little less, like a lower offer kind of thing? And he's like, no, you need this. And I'm like, it's a lot of money for me. And he said, good. How many online courses have you taken before? I said, a lot. And he's like, what did you solve this problem with those courses? And I said, no, I actually only logged in like twice. And he's like, okay, so do you think it's fair to say that if something feels like a big investment to you, that you're actually going to take action on it? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, we have this conversation. He objection handled the crap out of me. And I was like, just take my credit card, just do it. But I didn't tell my wife. I was just like, just do it. And that at the time for me, that was like a lot of money because we were going through the adoption process. And, well, no, we had just finished adopting. We just finished the adoption process actually, because this was just last year.
Oh yeah, you had already adopted.
We had 2 infants at home, and that's what it was. That's where like my income was going down. I now had these babies. Babies are very expensive.
Long Island's very expensive. Your mortgage is expensive. Everything. So
Yeah.
even like, you know, when it was bringing in 20,000 a month, the subscription app or 25,000 a month, it's like Long Island's
Yeah.
expensive, and your life with the adoption process and the babies, like it's expensive.
And then it's like, and then to see my income like going down, I'm like going down, down,
Yeah,
down, and I'm
yeah,
like freaking out. So I'm like, I have to do something. I'm panicking, and I'm not only panicking, I'm bored out of my mind with work, and I hate that.
yeah. At that
So
point,
I
you were working because of the babies too. You were working. You didn't have as much space to go work behind the chair as much. Is
Right.
that right?
So like I was
Yeah.
only I at that point I actually think was I still on parental leave perhaps. No, I wasn't, but I was only back like 2 days a week I think at that point. So I get off the phone with this guy and I'm like and he's like, "Are you really like helping you know, we talk and I end up meeting with a coach and he's just like, "Do you really feel like you're helping people?" I'm like, "No, I'm bored." And he's like, "You have to fix something." So I start what at the time I'm like, he's right. So I'm like, I have so much more to share, and I'm doing them a disservice by like not helping them in other areas. So we start this like, I'm like, Jackie, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm like, and I
You
think I'm
want to
gonna
know,
need like a
Nikki?
little.
Nikki called me, first person that you called actually before you even told Allison. You're like, I just did a crazy thing. I'm like, what'd you do? You're like, I spent a lot of money, but it's gonna be amazing. You literally said like, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be worth it, and it has to be. And you called me then, yeah, about like, I want to take this app to the next level. I want something different. I want to change people's lives.
So we start like a certification. We're like, it's gonna be 8 weeks long. You're gonna get Slice Squad certified. You're gonna learn the techniques, the mindset, whatever. And it was great. We started people in cohorts of 10, and Jackie came on, and it was like we're like a shit show at this point. Like
Oh my God.
yeah, we're just like signing people up in cohorts, and we're on the phone being like, let us help you, like come do this with us. And people we did
We
it
did
skyrocketed.
amazing, honestly,
Let me
because,
just
and
say
sorry.
it skyrocketed, and people were so happy with what we were doing, but it was not even nearly
What it is now.
what it
Oh,
is
I mean, like,
now.
I had, like, I was doing the customer support, for the app. And then you're like, I need your help. Like, do you want to help me with this? And do you want to teach mindset classes? So again, I'm a yoga teacher, a massage therapist, and like wellness is my jam. And I'm like, these people aren't even gonna like. I understand the importance, but they're not gonna want. I thought they were all coming in for just the technique, and like they. I mean, it was life changing. Even when we were pure chaos, like we were changing people's lives. Like those people we still have long-term relationships with, and some of them are still our clients. Like those people who jumped in and were like, yeah, whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. Take my money. I
Because
don't.
I made my first few calls. It's funny, like a couple of people that now work for me were the first people that I jumped on the phone with, and I was like, "So listen, where are you at in your business right now?" And they were like, here I am. And I was like, well, let's fix that. You want to do this? I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I think it's going to be great. I know it's going to be great. I just don't know what, it's a little bit of a mess. So like, let me just give me 2 weeks to get it together and let's go. And they're like, sign me the hell up. Let's do something. So, and now like two people that were in my first group of students at the time work for me. And then and then a lot of people who were in my second group, and it just keeps growing. But what we realized after that was that it still wasn't enough, because what would happen, this is what happens with online courses. When you don't have accountability, you don't do it. 6 in 100 people finish online courses. And so like we would see people fall off all the time, and like, what happened to this person? Like, why did they just give me their money and then they ditched?
Yeah. And they would be, we would reach out and be like, hey, where have you been? We haven't seen you. We haven't seen you in the live classes. We haven't seen you engaging. And life, that's always the thing. And life's always going to be a thing, right? But we realized like there were people who like showed the hell up, and those were the ones who were having 100, 200, 300, 600% increases in their top line service sales and their top line revenue. And
it's fair to say every single person that like showed up for themselves and actually like dug in,
yep,
did it.
Yep.
And then but also a lot of people like fell off. And I was like, no, this isn't it either. This isn't it either. I'm like, it's not it. No person is getting left behind. So I took some of my like star students that had like double, tripled their income, that were like pen and paper every day. And I was like, I need you to do this with me. We need to hold people accountable. And we're switching into a consulting firm immediately. Everybody needs a one-on-one support person. And we did it. And it just skyrocketed.
It like expedited so it's truly like, I love that structure, like that name, like nobody gets left behind. We won't let you, like your consultant, this community, we won't let you not show up for yourself with this, because it does work 100% of the time when you show up and implement. And this like one-on-one support, plus we have the most incredible team ever in the world.
Amazing.
We have the best consultants in the world. It expedited the process for people even more. So like when it was like cohorts, students, certification sort of thing, again, people did really, really well. And that was 8 weeks, and they would, see those giant increases. Now we're seeing like with the one-on-one support, our clients, now we don't say students anymore because they're our clients. And we're seeing our clients in their trackers growing like 600% by week 4. Like that's how expedited it is with that sort of one-on-one supports.
Because what happens is like everybody actually needs help in certain areas. And there were so many people when it was just like course style, certification style, that, yeah, like we were giving them the tools, but they didn't understand necessarily how to implement it into their business, like the pricing structure and stuff like that. So now we're like, okay, we get to dive in and figure that out for you. We get to, figure out exactly what you're going through and get to the core of that and really like adjust that. And I think sometimes people are like, but what if it doesn't work for me? I'm like, that literally does not happen. I'm like, we have never had somebody who we got to like actually implement the stuff that it doesn't work on. The only time that it has not worked is if it was people were resistant to the point where they're not doing it, or they disappear on us, which every once in a while, I mean, when I tell you we hold you accountable, I mean, like, we will email you 48 times. We will call you. We're like, you get back to work right now.
If you're disappearing, we are finding you.
I'll be damned if you just wasted your money. It's not happening.
No, I think that's another thing that like, aside from the one-on-one support that we offer, I feel like it's like really one of a kind. But I think what also sets us apart is like, we're super real, and like what we actually want, like the whole goal is just to show people their full potential and have them step into it. And that's from like, we work 12, 15-hour days because we care. And listen, boundaries are something we teach. So that's not a good example of like leading by example.
Our clients work less and make more. We just work
more for them.
But no, it's funny because then we're like, okay, so we'll just do 90 days of like a consultancy, right? And then of course we run into, but I don't want to
I
stop
don't want to
working
leave.
with you.
I want to keep growing.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you know what? Nothing exists like this. Like, nothing exists like this. I mean, hold a candle to it. The community, like the support, the like continual growth. We're like, not only are we going to scale your income behind the chair and you're going to work less? What comes next?
Mm-hmm.
Passive
Mm-hmm.
income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it really, it's one of a kind. We tailor, like too, when it was like not in this structure of one-on-one, the amount of information that is offered here, it, first of all, could never be fully consumed in 8 weeks or 90 days. There's no way. It's literally like a college course, like an associate's friggin' degree or more, and so it's impossible to implement all of it. But what's amazing, like I think people would get lost in like, which one do I implement first? Do I do mindset? Do I have to do marketing? And now with the one-on-one support, they're getting that person being like, okay, clearly here's where you need to start. Here's your first 5, 10, 15 action steps that you need to implement. Like, here's where you need to work on first. So that other person's perspective, plus you've got this entire community. Again, Nicki shows up as herself online. That like,
wait, how many times do I show up? How many times do I show up on like the wrong day? So like last night, and we have we have so much fun, all of us, we really do. And I show up at like our clients too, because we do like live classes multiple times a week too for all of our clients. And last night was business power hour, and I've got this whole freaking presentation. And one of our consultants, Alyssa, who started out as my client like 4 months ago, and I knew day one, I'm like, I'm hiring her. She started out, she was in a small town making like 5K a week. And I'm going to have her on an episode too for you. But like, she started out making 5K a week, which is huge. She's an extensionist. And now she's the director of our extension education. She's at 17K a week by week 13. I'm like, you're going to come work for us now. She's like, damn right I am. Actually, I think she like cried and like freaked out, and then she said yes. Yeah. Well, anyway, so she shows up last night to Business Power Hour, and I see that somebody else like on the same Zoom account as me, and I'm like, which one of my consultants is also in here? And at the same time, I like unmute myself. She unmutes herself, and she's like, hey, everybody. And I'm like,
wait
a minute.
Nicki, not only that, but so we have our whole community. So everyone has their private support channels and spaces, but our whole community of active clients are inside of a Facebook community together, which is it's fun in there. It's empowering. It's incredible. And Nicki goes in there on Wednesday. So Business Power Hour was Thursday. Not only was Nicki not teaching it, but it's fully on Thursday. But she goes in on Wednesday or Tuesday and goes, who's excited for Business Power Hour tomorrow? So like, not only are you not teaching it, it's not tomorrow. And then you commented to make it even better on Wednesday saying, oh yeah, I just realized tomorrow's Wednesday. And I'm like, nope.
No, that was Tuesday. I commented that. I saw that, but I was still wrong.
It's still wrong because class is on Thursday for sure. And you're not.
And all this to really say that anybody could be a millionaire.
Right. Like, what sets you apart from Nicki?
Not much. If anything,
taking action.
I'm like, literally, I just, do you remember when we actually did like a team retreat to Miami in May, and Nicki, one of our community manager our consultants, who started out like, she's in a small town. I remember when I took her on, she's like, I'm making 600 a week. She owns a salon with renters, and by the end of 8 weeks, she's doing 2,700 a week. And she's like, what just happened? And I'm like, come work for us. I need help. I'm like, at least I know you're going to believe in the process, right? And she was like, I love that you're fearless. I'm like, I'm not fearless. I'm like, every day I'm like shitting. I'm shitting every day, and I just do it. I'm like, if I don't do things that scare the crap out of me, then I don't feel like I'm growing. Mm-hmm. So I would rather do something and fail than do nothing. Yeah. Every time.
And that is the only thing that sets anyone apart from you.
I also think I'm scatterbrained, but I also think I'm pretty smart. So I actually think that I do have ADHD, and that is a little bit of a superpower because of the hyperfixation. So, you're never not going to have what's on the cutting edge. Like, I'm there.
It's true. It's true. So now we've got all of these amazing team members and all of these amazing clients, and Nicki gets to like use that superpower of hyperfixation on continuing to add value for our clients. So she'll just go on like a rampage looking into all different sorts of trainings and like the way that she can train us to train them and for her to train them to maximize in these cutting edge ways. Like she is always on top of it. Whatever new information is out there that is working for people in the business world, she's on top of it. Working for people in mindset, on it. Like working for people, technique, the extension training, like efficient extension training, on it, adding it. Like, let's go. So
I'm like, I want us all to be rich.
And
No,
that's
but
the mission.
that I'm like, why are you gonna? People will come in. I'm like, they're like, my goal is to make $5,000 a month. I'm like, why don't you want more than that? And they're like, well, I guess I do. I'm like, no, my mission is for you to do what you never thought was possible. I don't want you to stop at 5K. I don't want you to stop at 50K. I want you to keep going. I want you to keep going. And it's not all about, people are think like, oh, Nicki's driven by money. Nicki's not driven by money. I don't give a shit. Like I walk out of my house wearing like Costco pants. It doesn't matter.
And she's like, you're generous. You actually like, it's even when money comes in, you're generous. It's not about you, you know? That's the thing. It's about the team. It's about like others. It's about family. It's not about you. It's never been about money for you.
No, I mean, and listen, I like money for it buys freedom, and then I'm able to give back to the people in my life and people even outside of what I know. Like I've been able to help so many people with it. I've been able to like provide this house for my family. But I pour as much as I possibly can just back into the business and growing other people. I'm just like, I want everybody to win. And that's like I will say the most successful people that I know genuinely come from a place of like empowerment. Like you learn how to change people's lives. That's how you get rich. Where would you say, Jackie, the first place people usually need to focus that they're actually the most resistant to? Like everyone's like, I want to learn Nicki's techniques. And we're like, technique is the least of your issues right now.
Yeah. So everyone thinks they come in either just for the techniques or the marketing strategy. And I have a 90-day call with everyone, progress check-in to see where they've been at. And almost every single person shares their biggest wins at the end of that call. Is like, I shifted my mindset. I didn't even know. I was emotionally discounting. My boundaries suck in my life, in my business. My boundaries are horrible. My mindset is really tough. Like I have internal dialogues and narratives that tell me all the reasons I can't. And I didn't even realize that. Like I was holding my own self back. Mindset's always the first place.
It's always the first place. Always.
And no one thinks, they don't want to. They're like, no, I'm great. It's like, yeah, you're great. And also, are you?
I get on the phone all the time. They're like, actually, I'm already successful. Like, I don't know what you think you're going to teach me, Nicki. I've got it all figured out. I'm like, well, that's weird because I don't. And I'm like, I don't have it all figured out.
Always a student because there's no one knows everything. Yeah.
I'm getting on a call after this. I literally have a call after this that I know I'm going to get sold like something that costs $10,000 that's going to teach me something extremely valuable that I then get to implement to myself, my team, and pay it forward to our clients. And it's worth every effing penny. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I'm going in completely blind.
You're going on a sales call after this?
100%.
Nice.
I want to learn. I want to learn more. I want to learn everything.
You're literally every salesperson's biggest like dream client. You're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because I want to grow. Yeah.
They're like, you have this problem, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you have this problem, right? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you want to solve it? I'm like, yeah. They're like, when do you want to solve it? I'm like, today. They're like, can I have your credit card? I'm like, yeah, you can actually, for sure. And I just, I love it. So I don't even know what I'm stepping into, but it'll be exciting. TBD. And that's just what it is. Like it's mindset. Like it's not, everyone's like, I want to learn the efficiency. That's the only reason I follow Nicki. And I'm like, no, you have no. You don't even know how transformative this is going to be. Like it's life shattering. This isn't about hair. No. It's not about hair.
No, it's about empowerment. It's about growth. It's about potential, seeing it, things you never thought possible for yourself, seeing it. That's why people want to keep working with us long term. They go through 90 days and they're like, I am hitting numbers I never thought I could hit. No, I'm not done. Let's keep going.
Our retention is so high. Like,
people love it here. It's like, I can't even believe we get to do this I literally am like, I can't believe this is my life. And also, fuck yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I like never stop working, because I'm like obsessed.
It's fun. Yeah, it's really fun.
I'm obsessed. Like,
I love our clients. I love our team. Like, we have the best jobs ever. We work a lot, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's rewarding as shit.
Can't stop, won't stop. But so listen, at the end of the day, the whole point of this was just showing you really like where we came from. You're no different. What's possible. And if this resonated with you and you're a stylist, fill out an application to possibly become one of our clients and get on a call. That's what it starts with for every single one of these stylists. It starts with that. And if nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it. If you just take value out of it, you just take value out of it. Or maybe it's going to change your life. We're not for everyone. We're not for everybody. But I honestly think we are for most people if they just got out of their own effing way. Like, don't you just like whenever somebody says no, I don't care. My life doesn't change. Whether you say yes, you want to work with us, or no, like I can't swing that. It matters not to me. I genuinely feel bad. Like, I'm just like, no, damn it. Like, you need this. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, you have to make this work.
Yes.
And we're going to help you make it work. But like, you need to commit to yourself to do this. When do you actually like, everyone's like, oh, well, when this happens, then this happens. And that's something that we call the when then fallacy. And it's BS, and you know it. And we're going to get into that on another episode. It's a great thing to have an episode about. So just do it. Fill out the application.
Yeah. I want to say, like, I also want to say it takes work. It takes commitment. It's scary as fuck taking that leap. But all transformation in life comes directly from outside of your comfort zone, and those scary fucking decisions, like Nicki saying saying yes on that call about a $10,000 program that she had no business in spending. And look what's been born, so fearless fucking action, even if it's scary, like fake that fearless shit and just say yes to yourself because you're worth it. So just start with the application, honestly, whichever direction it goes in. But I will say that, like, it's going to be fucking scary, and it should be. And it's also going to be so fucking worth it when you show up for yourself like that.
But it ain't 10 grand. It ain't 10 grand.
No, it's not. Not yet.
But it will be.
So much value. So.
So yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Your dogs are just driving me crazy.
You can hear them?
100%.
All right. Well, we're getting off anyway, right?
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming. Slice Squad Spills. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Slice Squad Spills. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback is going to help us improve and attracts more listeners to the show. Please share with your fellow time slicers. And hey, if you're ready to optimize your time and double your income, we've got you covered. Just fill out the brief form linked in the episode notes and let's connect. You can also stay updated with us on all social media platforms by following @Nicki Wildflower. Let's continue slicing our way to success.